Father, in Jesus' name, please bless, cleanse, and I pray for the church and for your chosen people of all the Israel. I pray for this study for boldness and power, clarity and sureness, and a sense of recollection. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, guys, this is the coup de grace. This is the key. Now, this is the second appendix to my study, No Annihilation. Did you get that? Did you get that, please? Okay. No annihilation. That means that the soul of man, I'm not talking about an animal. I'm not talking about a fish or a bird. I'm talking about the soul of man, his nefesh, or spirit, ruah, or like that. I mean, the Jewish people. I mean, that's just the deal. We love them. Or psuke, or panuma, like that. Okay, is not destroyed whatsoever when death occurs. We saw when death occurs, the only kind of death that a human being will go through is, you understand what I'm saying? The first death. Okay, the first death, physical death, and then if the person is not saved, the second death, that means eternal fire and torture, and that means he'll go on. He'll go on. Asbestos is unquenchable. Fire is pure, and that's recorded. Those two things are recorded. Is that what I'm saying in Matthew? Now, I want to add this appendix. Okay, and remember that the last study was the story of the witch of Endor and Saul inquiring from the witch. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? The wicked witch of the west. You understand what I mean? Or the east, I don't care. So that's just a deal. Boils down to the same thing. An evil person. An evil person. Not a repentant sinner like Rahab the harlot who was spared. But no. Okay, but maybe she was saved too. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. If I see the witch of Endor, the former witch of Endor, okay, over there in heaven, I wouldn't be surprised. If I see those sailors, okay, as I forget my English here in the Philippines, okay, who had Jonah in their boat. You know what I mean? If I find those sailors in heaven, I wouldn't be surprised. If I find Saul, okay, from the Old Testament in heaven, I won't be surprised either. Okay? Tomorrow you're going to be where I am. That means that he was the same man. That's to me, those two compartments. But this is what I wanted to talk about. And I want to keep it right at Genesis chapter 2 because it has to do with that. In a sense. Okay? Now, all the way when it has to do with, just Adam, the first Adam, not the second, of course. Let's deal with some questions. Okay, like if you were asking me questions about the story and about the afterlife and about Sheol and about why did Samuel look the same, well, let me answer some of those questions by God's grace. I was going to do something else actually on the phone now. I was editing a Bible study that came previous to this one. I think, part of the No Annihilation or Anastasia series, something like that. But I said, something, God is really touching me, the living God of Israel. It's really touching me to move on to this appendix right now before I forget what he puts in my mind. Remember that the Holy Spirit is very, very sensitive, okay? So if you don't do what he says, well, he'll get somebody else to do it. Okay? So I'll give you the case in point before I get into the world of the dead. I was going to put on Julius Armanti's, Walter Martin's interview of Julius Armanti years before it came to the Philippines. Years. Oh, not maybe years, but maybe a couple of years, okay? I was going to put it like a 2015, 2016, and I polished the audio up, which the guy doesn't have on YouTube. We bless his heart. We love him, whoever did that, Put the beautiful, part 1 and part 2. I was going to put it in one, and just in one part. Okay, interview by Walter Martin interviewing Julius Armanti, the famous Greek scholar. And I polished up the audio, and I increased the audio, and the audio is impeccable. There's nothing like it. Okay, we all bought these cassettes from CRI when CRI was the cream of the crop of, cult ministries. This is not anymore because of Hank, but that's another issue. He's an enemy of the church now. It's just a deal. But the thing is that So I bought this cassette tape, the Walter Martin interview of Julius Almanti, Dr. Julius Almanti, THD, interview of him. And like I said, I polished it up and stuff like that, whatever the case may be. And I'm going to get into the Abode of the Dead in a second. And I said, something, I want to put a visual board. I want to make, like Julius Armanti is sitting right next to Walter Martin, like that, Now remember that audio was really a television show. It was called Probe. Now, I don't know if he just died shortly after that. Walter Martin died in 1988, or I think 1989. Right? But before that, he started a television series. It's just like John Ankerberg's show. Exactly like it. Now, maybe he got the idea to do it from John Ankerberg because he appeared on many of John Ankerberg's shows before he died, before he passed on to be with the Lord. To be absent with the body, from the body is to be present with the Lord. Okay? Two infinitives there, by the way. Verbal nouns, infinite nouns, if you will. And so I made this wonderful board, and I put the Greek up there and this and that, and I procrastinated, and somebody else beat me to the punch. See, that's the problem. If you don't do it, God is going to find somebody else to do your stuff. That is really God's stuff. That He wants up there. It could be a nice thing to do. Procrastination could be nice or it could be stupid. But if you don't get it done, somebody else is going to do it. Let's get to this. Let's get to the abode of the Necron, of the dead ones. Now, what I want to do, I want to answer some questions. How old was Samuel when he died? Now, I don't know if the Bible says, but he was an old man, and he was dressed in a robe. Question number one, why did God allow, because he is, he is, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, okay? He's not the God of the dead, but of the living. Why did he allow Samuel to be looking like he was when he died? Well, first of all, okay, you don't tamper with state's evidence. That was a very good point. In fact, okay, it was Samuel. It wasn't somebody else, or somebody else in the form of Samuel, whatever the case may be. It was Samuel. It was Shamuel. You get that? If he appeared young and everything like that, coming through the floor, having come from the abode of the dead, the Greek word kardia, the heart of the earth. Okay. I just paused a second because I thought that was my baby crying, and they were bringing her back here. I want her to be over there. Okay, that's why I'm doing these things, in order and in peace. Okay, and at the vein. She's at my grandmother's, my mother-in-law's house, and my father-in-law, by the way, lost. Let me just hit this picture. I don't want this to be annihilated. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Let me see. Okay. That's why. That's why Jesus had to come back in his original birthday suit or soma body. His own sarx, his own flesh. You understand what I mean? It's really sark. They put the sigma there in a nominative singular, and the thing is that the K and the S sounding letters became a kasi, and so that's just the deal. But you only have to worry about the kasi, I think, twice in that paradigm. Okay, so it's like what is it? Is sarx? What is it? Sarkase, sarki, okay, sarka, maybe something like that, or sarkane or something. I have to look at the paradigm again. So if somebody sees him young, Samuel, well, they're gonna say, wait a minute, God's doing some kind of hocus pocus on us. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, he was dead. He was alive and looking old, and then he died, and now he's looking young. Now, what's the hanky panky that God is trying to do? Well, God avoids that by letting Samuel look the same way as he did before he died, or before he fell asleep. There's no such thing as soul sleep, but to say that he fell asleep is much more peaceful. It sounds much more peaceful than just he died. Okay, that's a death of that's a sweet death. Okay, to the taste of the believer. You understand what I'm saying? Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of the saints. Why? Because they sleep. They don't fall asleep, but they appear. Just they just appear sleeping. That's all. And peace is sleep is peace. Okay, until somebody wakes you up. You understand what I'm saying? But there's no such thing as soul sleep. But that's another thing altogether. Okay, maybe that could be appendix number 3. What's the second question? Well, then the deal is, Angelo, at the resurrection of our bodies, that's recorded in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Forget about Samuel for now, but I'm going to the New Testament, because the Old Testament is in the Old contained, the New Testament is in the New explained. The Old Testament is in the Old concealed, the New Testament is in the New revealed. That's a hermeneutical rule. That's a hermeneutical rule that cannot be broken. Only on certain occasions when, you're looking at the book of Revelation and you need the Old Testament to kind of explain that just a little bit, even though the Revelation is an apocalypse, explaining everything else. Fullness and cloud. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? But this is the thing. How will we look at the meaning when we receive our bodies and then we're living in the new earth and we're in the new heaven and new earth where righteousness dwells, lives, you understand what I mean? How will we look? Well, in order to get that answer, we need to go not to the Old Testament of the account of Samuel, because he looked old and he didn't have his body, so we can't get that there. Okay, we have to start on 2 fronts. Number 1, the first Adam and the second Adam. What do you mean the first Adam and the second Adam? Well, Adam, and Adam, Christ, our Lord. You understand what I mean? The Adam of the Old Testament and the Adam of the New. Okay, according to, Genesis chapter 1 and 2, and 3, by the way, and all across the board until he died. And also, understand. When Jesus started his ministry, and he started it around the age of 30. Okay, and that's recorded probably in Matthew chapter 3 or Luke chapter 3, like that, You understand what I mean? He started at 30. Why? Well, it's just the age of responsibility. Okay? I mean, the Hebrews didn't even look at, they weren't supposed to look at a book like the Song of Solomon, you understand what I'm saying, until they were 30 years old. That's what I mean, just had to wait a little while to look at that book. So you just couldn't look at that book in preschool. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of hanky-panky, you understand what I'm saying, between couples, and that's just the deal. Now, why I say 30? Because that was that's when he started his ministry. 30. Now, this is the thing. Adam died at around approximately 930 years of age. It's very important. 930 years of age. You take away that 900, now I'm not doing something that Harold Camping did, just destroying the Bible, you understand what I'm saying, with a stupidity, okay? Oh, Christ is going to come because of this and that, and then he was he destroyed his ministry. He destroyed himself as being an anchor of family radio. Not the ministry of family radio together, because it's still kicking. Hopefully they learn from Camping's mistake that you don't follow a guy. You follow the Lord Jesus Christ. You don't follow a dude. You follow the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. You don't follow a man, anthropos, okay, whose breath is in his nostrils. As wonderful as Camping was in the 1950s and really 60s, though, because he set it up in 1959. But anyway, I guess that counts. 59 all the way to, as good as he was in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, and even, I don't know, part of the 90s. I'll take that back. Okay, doing 2 fiasco prophecies. He looked like a Jehovah's Witness. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, all right. We ain't got that many skirts clean in our side either, guys. You understand what I mean? But they just did it Okay, more repetition of stupidity. I mean, Camping did it twice, and a whole bunch of other people. If they could get that information, then it's really offset. It's really it's match. We can't really, but they don't know how to answer. See, if I was a Jehovah's Witness, I'll say, well, how about you guys? How about camping in 1994 and then 2011? What about that? Those two fiascos. And not only that, all the evangelicals, especially in 1899, and you know what I mean? Even 1999, who did these stupid, let me just move this a little bit, guys. They do the...
By the seventh day God completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which...
Wait, guys. Okay. Like I was trying to say, she broke my concentration, all these stupid prophecies. But let's get back to the nitty gritty. I'm not doing something like that, okay? You using numbers, the 2,000 pigs. So that's when Christ is going to come back in the year 2000. They went into the sea and drowned. That's stupidity. That's hogwash. I'll put it by the way. But this is a hypothetical. This is not really gospel, like the gospel truth, like that, like it's set in stone. But probably this is why God put it in the Bible. Probably. It's just an indication. It's just a clue. It's not the coup de grace. It's not the key. It might be, but I'm just saying. We have to grasp for something because we don't have a lot to go on. How is the believer going to look? We know that we're going to have different kinds of bodies, physical, tangible bodies that were, okay, and are going to be, okay, that are going to be, okay, in other words, there's going to be a one-to-one correspondence between the body that goes into the ground and the body that comes up at the resurrection, just like the seed analogy. Okay, it is sown, esperitas, right? It is sown, it is raised. Ageritas, I think, right? Esperitas, ageritas, something like that. Verse 42 and 43 of 1 Corinthians chapter 15. But how do we really know how we're gonna, what kind of age we're gonna be looking like when we were here? Okay, you understand? So that's just a deal. Now, in order to go to do that, okay, we have to look at Adam when was he created. Well, you take away the 900 years, and he was created like if he was 30 years old. He wasn't created a baby. Okay. It says that he was 930 years of age when he died. That means that he wasn't created a baby. He was created a full-fledged man. Okay? If he was created a baby, even though God was there and he could have done it, he could have done it. Okay? God is the greatest babysitter in the universe. You know what I'm saying? Okay? But he didn't do it that way. Because if he did, Adam would have needed a babysitter, and guess what? Okay, Eve wasn't hanging around just yet, okay? And nobody else. So Adam didn't have a sister, you understand what I'm saying, that could look him off and, well, let me take care of him because Adam came first. And then the woman, Hawa, okay, which is Eve in Hebrew. Eve is just English. I mean, it's just, there's no Eve in Hebrew. I believe in Eve, but I'm just saying that wasn't her name. It was, I think, Hawa, okay, something like that. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like Hawaii, okay? Maybe it came from that. But anyway. So, he was, let me see if I could do something about that. Okay, let me see. Let's see. Get that back. Get it back. Okay, at least we can see some of the scriptures. Okay, what happened here? Okay. He was 930 years old. Okay, when he died. And Adam was 930 years old and he died. Now Methuselah was 969 years old and he dropped dead. And so that's just so he was the oldest man in recorded history in the Bible. Okay? Now I think the Ebla tablets or something like that, there were recordings of extremely old people in ancient history, confirming what the Bible says. But some of these recordings have man living for thousands of years, not only 930 or 969, but 10,000 years. So I think something maybe is missing in the translation, or maybe that's just hyperbole on the part of the persons who recorded it, or we just mistranslated it and they meant to say something else, and we're the ones that are not translating it correctly, or just it was just translated, it was just transmitted wrong, because that's 10,000 years, that's a little bit too much. But nevertheless, there were people that were living in extremely long years outside of the Bible. Okay, so that just confirms. Okay, that's extra biblical evidence, external evidence, if you will, not internal, that the Bible is saying the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You understand what I'm saying? This is the thing. So somebody may ask me, well, not only what kind of a body we're gonna have? Apostle Paul says, "You're full." Okay. So, but not that, but it's almost part two. Like, how are we going to look like? Well, and this is not only me that says this. I mean, when he was alive and kicking on in his world, Norman Geisler wrote The Battle of the Resurrection, a very wonderful volume, and he was interviewed by CRI, and I put that up there, but I was scared that I was going to get into trouble with my first YouTube channel, so I took it out. But I want to put it back. I don't think I'm going to get into any trouble. Okay? I'll put that in my new channel, the Angelo Akiki Rucci RUCCI Quinones channel, the third channel. There's actually 4 overall, but anyway, who's counting. What are we going to look like? 930 years old. I mean, it's 930 years old, but you minus 900 plus, minus 930, subtract that. And from 930 to 900, you get 30. Ah, there you go. Now, he wasn't created a baby. We know that. There was nobody to take care of him. So he was created at the age that he could take care of himself, right off the bat. Right off the bat, or right off the mode. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Right off the bat. Punctiliar, I guess that's in Greek. You understand what I'm saying? Right off the bat, he was taking care of himself. It's just like a giraffe, drops out of the womb of the mother, and he's just walking already. That's just the deal. The giraffes, that's how they come out. You come out, already, like what? Like about 7 feet or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, so he was formed from the dust. From dust you are, to dust you shall return. You understand what I'm saying? And that's echoed by Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7, and Psalm 46, verse 4, I believe. We looked at those. Okay, immediately he could take care of himself once he became a living soul. Just like, God will repeat the process, you understand what I'm saying? Not of the creation of the body, Greek stroma, but the creation of a new spirit, which has to be in man for him to be born again. And that's recorded in verse 22 of chapter 20 of the Gospel Kata Ioan in the Gospel according to John. You understand what I mean? So, he looked like, because he was, okay, you understand what I'm saying? 30 years of age right off the bat. But Angelo, if he was 30 years old right off the bat, how can that count as 30 years? Well, God could skip. He could do what he wants. He could do what he pleases. You know what I mean? So just because he created him right off the bat 30 years, it doesn't mean that those 30 years don't count. He already had the wear and tear. Now, well, he didn't before the, fall. But you know what I mean? He already showed that age. So why not clock him at 30 years of age just when he came out of the counter? You understand what I'm saying? That's what I believe. He could have been a baby and God had to wait until he was 30 years of age. There was no babysitter around. I'm just saying, God wasn't dealing with babysitting guys like that. You understand? He didn't create him a baby. It says man all the way through. It doesn't mention baby anywhere in Genesis chapter 1, chapter 2, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't mention baby at all. It doesn't mention baby. That Adam was a baby, and then he grew up, and then God, took care of him, and God, I mean, I just, and then some of the animals gave him warmth, and some of the animals gave him food, and it's just like Charlie X, from Star Trek. I mean, he was like an infant or a child or whatever the case may be, and he crashed, and his parents died, and then he was living off these aliens, and they took care of him and stuff like that, and then they gave him plants, and they gave him this power. It was nothing like that at all. It's not Star Trek. It was the Bible. You see what I mean? Let me just move this just for a second. Again,
with the seventh day, God completed His work, which.
I mean, come on. I know. Okay. It just locked on me. It's just locked on me. The phone again. This Galaxy. This. I mean, come on, man. It's just like Joe Biden again. Come on. So anyway, this is a deal. So we have to conclude that the circumstantial evidence, and I can mention more things, but the circumstantial evidence of how we're gonna look like when we get our new bodies, you understand what I'm saying? Is in the story of Adam, the first Adam, and the second Adam when he started his ministry. Is that clear? Jesus didn't start his ministry at the age of infancy. No, he did. He said a couple of things. It was written in the volume, Lo, I come to do thy will, O God. He said that as a baby. And he was still creating things in people. That's the amazing part of Jesus being a baby, that he was killing two stones at the same time. He came as the Messiah, as number one, number two, still creating things, okay, and people all across the board. Because if he didn't, okay, that means that Jesus didn't create billions of people during his childhood. And we all know that's impossible because what was recorded, in verse 3 of chapter 1 of John, is that he created all things. Greek word panta. Panta. Someone from pas, all things. You know what I'm saying? Not just some things, but all things. And that's just the deal. So he created, while he was in a womb, in the spirit essence, he was still creating things. Just in fish and including other mammals and also animals and the birds of the air and the sky. You know what I mean? But let's get back to this. So the way that we're going to look is like Norman Geisler said, is at our best, at our peak. Oh boy, the sports people, they use this, and I'm into sports. I love certain sports, hockey and football when the Giants are good. Anyway, they stink. But anyway, like hockey, American football, but basketball is my, is to me better than all those. And then baseball is my number one sport. What is the word they use? I'm trying to get the word. It's like not at their peak, but at their, I'm trying to get that word. I might have to edit this because I have to probably crank the Model T a little bit here in my mind. Okay. When he is at his, it's just a word that I might have to come back to it. Well, for example, Aaron Judge right now is at his, I'm trying to get the word, and you probably got it already. So God bless your heart. I just pray that I can get it, Lord. I don't want to waste too much time, even though I might edit this later. Okay? In Jesus' name. They don't say it like this, but he's at his glory. He's at his peak. He's at his the part of the career that he is just, I'm just trying to get it. I can't get it. I already prayed for it, but it's not coming to me now. Okay? It's there. It's right at the edge of my mind, and it's crucial to our Bible study. It's crucial as I wrestle with that. Okay, at the other side. Okay, I'm trying to get that, and I will. I know. It's just right there. And you probably guys are saying, say it, Ange, already know already. Come on. I don't know if I'm going to edit this, because it's not going to be, honest, if I edit it, it's like I got it right away, and I don't want to project that because I didn't. It took me about like 2 minutes, Oh, yeah. It's just, it's the same for all the time for the sports. His glory, they don't say that though like that. And Norman Geisel used it too. He used it in that interview. I might have to cheat and look at it later. I have to put it in my television, look at it later, because I have it here. I brought all the stuff to the. But let me just do this. Let me just hold that at the back of my mind, that's where it is. It's not in the front. It's in the back of my mind, not actually to the front, but and just wrestle with that. Just keep on going on, and then hopefully it'll come to me, But be that as it may. Okay, we are gonna look like we did at our best when we were living in this world. You understand what I'm saying? We're gonna look like what we look like at our greatest moment of age. If that's 30, okay, fine. It's like Elvis Presley when he did that 1968 concert, the comeback, like 68, 69. You understand what I'm saying? I think it was 68. He was 30. What was he? 33 years old. He was at his peak. He wasn't the fat Elvis of the 70s. You understand what I'm saying? And he wasn't the young Elvis singing "That's All Right, Mama," and then he couldn't breathe, because he got too tired before the army, and he wasn't, working out like that and stuff like that, whatever the case may be. He wasn't a baby. He wasn't 42. He was 33 at his peak of his career. Okay? At his peak. I wish I can get that word, but it's not as... The closest that I can get to it is peak right now. I can't get... Maybe I'll do an appendix, and I'll say, oh, man, that was right there, guys. I had to go and look. But, But you know what I mean. He was at his... Elvis was Elvis, when he was singing them songs and stuff like that at the age of, 16. So, okay, fine, and 22 and all that stuff when he came out of the army and all that stuff. Okay, fine. He was younger and like that, but he was at his peak when he was 33. I mean, you could see he was smarter. He was, he could do things that he probably never did before. 8th degree black belt in karate. Whenever he got that, I mean, there were things that he did that he couldn't do when he was a teenager. There was things that he owned, or things, whatever in Graceland. Even though in Graceland he bought that like around 19, when he got out of the army, or whatever the case may be, or before, or something like that, either 58 or 60, whatever it was. So he did things that, was before his peak. I understand that. But physically, he looked at his best in his early 30s, okay? He wasn't burly, he wasn't fat. I mean, he looked his best. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? That's just a deal. Let me bring another one. I don't like to bring this too much because of, you know what I mean? But let me bring this up because he was so famous, Let's bring Obama, though, before him. Obama was at his best, not like what he is now, a little bald and gray and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? His body type is kind of the same, but it's not. I mean, he did a lot of smoking, and you don't know what's in there. But he, and let me see for a second. Wait. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? He looked at his best at the Democratic National Convention, or whatever it's called. Okay? He looked his best. You understand what? 2004 or whatever the case may be. You understand what I'm saying? He looked at his best. He. Everybody said this is gonna be. I mean, this guy should run for president. Look at him. Let's put him up there as the Democrat. This is our future, and whatever the case may be. And even though he wasn't so young, he was still in his 40s. Okay, so his peak at the age of when politics has to do with it. Forget about his age. Like what he felt like and stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. His physical condition. He looked, according to the political aspect of it all, he looked his best at that Democratic convention. Okay, like that, you understand what I mean? But let's get something else. How about Bruce Lee? Bruce Lee looked at his best fighting wise, muscular features, or whatever the case may be. I know there's a lot of baggage with Bruce. I understand that, but let's just hold that for now, because we're going to use these examples. Okay, these rough examples. You understand what I'm saying? For the biblical fact that, or a great a circumstantial evidence that we are going to look like what we did at our best, not our worst. I'm not going to look like I was now, like I'm 59 years old. I'm not going to, okay, you understand that, guys? Now, if I died at the time of the Old Testament, at the time of the saints, of the Old Testament saints, from Genesis to Malachi, well, I would have looked, whenever I die, I'm going to look what I'm going to look like when I drop dead. That's just a fact, because Samuel did. You understand what I'm saying? Samuel did. Did the babies look like that also? Yeah, that's all. God will have people to take care of babies if they died in the Old Testament age saved. No problem. There's no problem with God. He doesn't have to take care of them, but he'll take care of them in a sense that he'll get somebody else to take care of them. You understand what I mean? That's just it. That's just the deal. It's just very consistent with the scriptures. I mentioned Miriam again. Miriam took care of Moses when she didn't have to even do anything physically, to touch him or whatever the case may be, or to wash him, to clean him, to feed him, whatever the case might be, that came later because of God's provision and providence. Just look at your brother far off. That's all. That's all she had to do. And then later, can I nurse him for you? Sure. Okay, isn't that poetic justice? Doesn't God have a sense of humor? It already belonged to the child belonged to his mother, and then he's with his mother again because that young girl didn't know how to take care of a baby, man. She knew how to take care of crocodiles more than babies. You know what I'm saying? That's just a deal. So she couldn't do that, and so she was forced to give the baby to somebody that could take care of him. And it's poetic justice that the actual mother, Moshe, actually got it done. Moses in Hebrew, okay? Moises in Spanish, but who cares? Nobody cares as much as we care about the original languages, guys. Even though Latin, has boasts of 10,000 plus manuscripts of the Greek New Testament. You know what I'm saying? Translation of it anyway. So we're king on the throne when it comes to the manuscript evidence, the number of them. You know what I'm saying? Greek only has 6,000 manuscripts, and Latin is up there. We're about 10 or 11,000 copies of manuscripts. But that's not. Who's counting? You know that? Yeah. So, man, until you get your body, you're gonna be looking like you did. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? When you're passed on. That's just a deal. That's just a coup de, not a coup de grace, but you know. Well, that's the coup de grace, but we can't say that the coup de grace is that when we get our bodies, we're gonna look like what we did at our best. But there's a lot of strong evidence. That's what I'm talking about. I guess maybe that's coup de grace number one, and coup de grace with a two with the Greek word aeon. Okay, if. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Or maybe. Okay, something like that. The letter eta, now they call eta. I think could be translated maybe. You understand what I'm saying? That's just a deal. So what's the deal? Well, the deal is that the scriptures saw, recorded, right in verse 13 and verse 14, okay, that she saw an old man dressed in a robe. Now, he probably died in that robe, you understand what I'm saying? He died looking like that, old. So that's just the deal. Okay? But we know that. Aula, for but, Alpha, Lambda, Alpha, I got my own pronunciation for obvious reasons, you know what I'm saying? Not to confuse those who misuse John chapter 5, if you get my drift, you understand what I'm saying? Oh, Alpha, Lambda, Alpha, that's the name of our God. No, it's not, man. It's a conjunction, man. Come on, man. It's like Joe Biden or over then. Come on, man. Come on, the Alpha's not even capitalized. Come on, guys. Come on with the stuff. Come on, try to. You belittle the Bible, the unbelieving Arabs, and then you use it to quote use your point. And then you can't have your sex and eat it at the same time. You understand what I'm saying? Excuse me. But let's get back to this, okay? So Adam was created at the age of 30 years old to look like he would have when he would have reached that point. If he would have reached that point. That's what I mean. I don't think there was any danger there at all. So let me just say that he would have reached that point. That's all, he would have. It was a perfect world. It was a perfect man. No diseases, no time clock, no nothing like that. All right. So he would have reached that age. And that's the coup de grace, and that's the key. So 30 years of age. Now, the second Adam comes on the scene, starting his ministry from at the age of, he went at the top, 12, but that's just a deal. So that's when children could start, doing something for God. But the thing is, that's why he gave that example like that. That's why. And there's other examples in Luke that God gives, Take up 2 swords. Okay, don't use them. Okay, because the kingdom of God is not going to be by violence. It's going to be by the way of peace. It ain't it. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, so Petros had to learn that coming in. That's just a deal. And he got to know that going out, preaching at the day of Pentecost with no sword on the side. You understand what I'm saying? That's just a deal. So Christ comes on the scene. You understand what I'm saying? By David's line. And by the line that wasn't cursed, by the way. Read, Matthew chapter 1, verse 11, and go back to recorded history and see why he was cursed. You understand what I'm saying? Jeconias, not from that line, but from Mary's line. Recorded in Luke chapter 3. You see, okay? Huh? That's just a deal. He started his ministry, meaning Christos. Christ. He started his ministry around the age of 30, and then, he completed it around the age of, 33 and a half years, like that. He was raised from the dead. He stayed here. Actually, I'm in Asia, so I'm close by. And so the thing is that I was born in the Bronx in the United States of America, way back to my chagrin in 1965. It's 2024 right now. You know what I'm saying? 59 years old. I'm getting old, guys. Time is ticking away. Time is ticking away. You have to make some kind of decision. Okay? That's just it. But the problem is, I'm not Billy Graham, okay, and I don't believe you can make a decision because you're dead. That's another thing. You don't have the the ability to decide for Christ. You have not chosen me, I have chosen you. And that's just a deal all across the board. Okay? Never forget it, that the glory belongs to Christ. And not you yourself as adjectival intensive. That's the only thing that belongs to you, as an adjectival intensive. Greek. For the Greek geek. Is that what I'm saying? For that guy who has a T-shirt with a fee on it. You understand what I'm saying? That's a kind of a fee, and that's just a fee, like that, or a Veda nowadays called Feta or something like that. You understand what I'm saying? Or Ro or something like that. And he thinks it's a P. Yeah, but anyway, when it's capitalized, and not even, it's from the Greek geek. That has a P on his shape. Not knowing that that's a temple, and the first letter of Pneuma and things like that, words like that. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's for the Greek geek. or the Greek geek, something like that. I have to reverse it. So this is the deal. So he completed the mission. To tell us the debt has been paid in full. Okay. Nobody has to pay for their own sins and crimes. He paid for our sins and crimes. The telestai is in the perfect tense. Reduplicating consonant tau. Now they call tough like I'm tough. You understand what I'm saying? Connected by epsilon. You dig? So you got the perfect tense. Is in the passive construction, to tell us tie from my side tie and mesostatin tie. You understand what I'm saying? Don't forget that. And that's how we got that. The completed action that sets everybody free who believes in Christ. You understand what I'm saying? But this is the deal. How am I going to look like at the resurrection, at the anastasis, when I receive my glorified resurrection body? What am I going to look like? Well, I'm just telling you. You're going to look like Adam did when he was at his zenith. I'm getting closer. I'm getting a little closer now. Not only peak, but zenith. Maybe I might get it before this study. This is like Alfred Hitchcock's suspense, guys. I'm holding you to suspense. It's not made up. I can't get it. It's right to the tip of my tongue. I hate that. You understand? But I can't do nothing about it. I mean, it's right there. I mean, it's there, man, with 10 million other things in my brain. Good God. I mean, I hate that, dog. It's like, why? Why does that have to happen to me? That I have to lock up at the time of a study. But anyway, that's just the deal. But since Jesus started his ministry at the age of 30, okay, all right, and Adam, you know what I mean, was created at that age because God says this is the age when the Messiah is gonna start his ministry. Now Jesus wasn't created. That's he wasn't created. That's just a deal. Okay, it's an uncreated being. Consensus has nothing to do with Jesus. That Greek word, you understand, right? It's almost bracketed. It's almost consensus almost has a straitjacket on it. I said almost, not completely. It means the building of a foundation or of a city or of like that. Not always of creation like that, but it's the most strictest word for creation in the Bible, even more than poeo. Even more than that. Even though poieo is found and recorded in Genesis 1:1 in the Greek. Septuagint, the LXX is 70. You understand what I'm saying? But it's not used in Colossians chapter 1. Katisis is used for the creatures that Christ created. Okay? The creatures that Christ created. Try to say that quick. The creatures that Christ created. You understand what I'm saying? Katisis is not even near Jesus. For him being a creature. It's never used. Okay? He made them both Lord and Christ. Okay, yeah, punk. That's all you can get? From verse 36 of chapter 2, Apraxas Apostoloni actually that's all you can give me? Is that? Let me just touch this because it'll be annihilated in my study. You understand what then I have to put a part 2. It won't be annihilated right away, but I have to make I have to, save it. And I don't have to save it, it's going to be there, but then I have to add another part. Okay, this is like the partitive genitive. You understand what I'm saying? One of my favorites. I will give unto you the half of my kingdom. Not all of it, yeah, witch. But a part of it. Even though you dance so nicely and stuff like that, I'm not going to give you the entire kingdom. I'll give you a part of it. You understand what I'm saying? What do you want? Okay. That's right. That's why Herod's probably in hell. Listen to that witch of a wife that he had. Give me his head. Okay, kefale. Give me his kefale on the platter. Give me his head on the platter. Go, please. That's what I want. I want it now. Give me it. You see? There's evidence in recorded history that his daughter was probably saved, but I think there's a name like that, okay, all right, of that damsel in the apostles of the epistles. I have to check that out. I mean, that's kind of recorded out there in history, but I'm not sure. Because Adam was created to be what he would have reached at the age of 80, at the age of 30, okay, 30, that gives us hope, great hope, that we're going to be looking like what we did at our peak, at our zenith. And before this study is over, I'm going to do some investigation, okay, into the battle of the resurrection, because he used a word there that everybody uses in sports. Everybody uses, because sports people, they're young, and then they get old, and you're not the same, except for LeBron James. I mean, that's just I mean, you're not going to be the same as you was when you were at your peak or your zenith in your career. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? You're not gonna be like when you're old. Listen, I don't feel anything like I did before when I was 30 years old. I never had a back problem. Not that I didn't get sick or whatever the case may be, or I didn't break any bones and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. Accidents do happen, but I got hit by a car twice. But I'm saying that I didn't feel the aches and pains that I'm feeling now. I used to be in a basketball team, okay. Well, that's kind of cheating, because that's going way back in high school. So I'm not gonna bring when I was 17 years old. But suffice it to say that when I played basketball at the age of 30, I never got tired. The sun didn't bother me. I didn't get tired. I could play for hours, even probably more when I was 17. But still, when I was, but I was smarter at 30. I was seasoned. I was better. You know what I mean? And I would have been better in full court. So, but I'm saying that, when I was 30 years old or 33 years old, man, I was at my peak. I was at my zenith. I was at my best. I still can't bring out the word. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. So before this is over, this study, I will bring that word, because that word it really brings out the glory of it all. Okay, it really does. And I'll be honest with you, if I get it while I'm charging the phone without looking, because I don't want to really look into it too deeply, because I have to, look for it on my hard drives and stuff like that, and that's going to be a lot of work. Okay, it's just like working for it, to get it from my brain. So, but I'll let you know. I'll be honest with you, completely in Jesus' name. I'll be honest if I got it through just researching it, or just getting it on my own. And I will be happy if I get it on my own. I'm just gonna lay down for a while after eating something, and then I'll see if I can, not for my own glory or something like that, but I want to get it because I don't want to disappoint you guys. Okay, I did pray for the study, and I believe if we just work in cranking it out. And just do some work, like just getting it out of our minds, then it'll be more satisfying to get that information for you like that. But suffice it to say is this: is that Adam was 30 years old when he was created from the dust. Okay, he was already 30 years old. In actuality, that body that he had, okay, would have aged. Okay. Now all he had to do is eat, okay, from the tree of life, and he would have remained at whatever state he did when he ate of the tree. God didn't say to him, "You can't eat from the tree of life." Oh, they should have said, "Oh, the tree of life? Wow, the tree of life." Okay. Where is the tree of life? Oh, that's the tree of life. Well, man, I want to eat from this. God didn't say I can't eat from this. All Adam had to do is say to his wife, "No, I don't want to eat from this tree. Okay, that tree that you're showing me, in Canaan. So I want to eat from this tree, hutas. Okay, I want to." If that was written, recorded, like the way I'm saying, he would have met the temptation in the way I'm saying. Okay, hindsight is always 20/20. You understand what I'm saying? I want to eat from hutas from this tree, the tree of life, not from that one. Canaan, far demonstrative. No, a near demonstrative. This one, hutas, and even though Greek wasn't around. To his chagrin. You understand what I'm saying? That's just the deal. So anyway, this thing is dimming on me. It's like a Christmas tree. It's going on and off and this and that and stuff like that. So let me just collect some thoughts about our little tiny appendix study to the No Annihilation series. Okay, and I will say this, that the first reason why, to answer the first question, why was he looking like that, Samuel? Why was he looking like that? Well, to be identified by anybody. By his family, by his friends. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? That's all, just the deal. And not only that, not to tamper with state's evidence. God doesn't tamper with state's evidence. You understand what I'm saying? He is state's evidence, but he doesn't tamper with his own evidence. You understand what I'm saying? The grave clothes of Christ. That wasn't tampering with it. So as a matter of fact, that was an angel that he said there, so nobody would tamper with state's evidence. You understand what I'm saying? The slab of rock, the grave clothes, the tomb, the rock. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? The DNA. Before DNA was not invented, but was discovered in 1989 or whatever the case may be. You understand what I'm saying? Huh? So, I mean, to our blessing and delight, we will look like at our bodily resurrection, like what we did. You understand what I'm saying? When we looked at our best, at our zenith, at our peak. I'm trying to get it, guys, before I go. I'm trying to get it, though. I'm trying to get it for you guys. Oh, man, I wish I can get it. It's right there at the tip of my head. Do you hear this, guys? Like someone knocking at the door. It's like Paul McCartney, you know what I'm saying? Someone knocking at the door. Someone ringing the bell. Do me a favor and open the door and let him in. But I can't. It's so funny. That's what I'm saying? That's like the boring song of all time. I'll tell you, that is a boring song. I mean, it's like a street load of people coming in the house. It's like all the traffic is coming in the house. All the policemen and with the whistles and stuff like that. And everybody's coming in the house. I thought that was like a house, not a factory, though. I'm just saying. But let me see if I could get it before the study, ends. Excuse me for the yawning. I'm getting tired, guys. I mean, good. You know what is right? I got a headache. But I'm trying to get it for you guys. Maybe Greg Constante can get it. Or Tony from Florida. Or Mark from Missouri. Or Denise Lenore from Florida. Where that bastard is from. That just won the election. You know what I'm saying? Mar-a-Lago. Or something like that, That's just the deal. Or Gilberto. I mean, he can remember everything. He can remember what he had for lunch in 1972. Where's Gil when I need him? You know what I mean? Or Obed. That's just it. If you're not busy looking at a Filipino in the Philippines, that's just the deal. Let's see if I can get it, guys. Let me see if I can get it, okay? Sports. Let's just crank it up like this. Alex Rodriguez. Man, he was young, wasn't he? This is how I'm cranking it, Yeah? Hitting all those home runs and stuff like that in 2007. Okay? Man, he looked great when he was at his pinnacle. Oh, that's another word. I'm getting closer. Zenith, pinnacle, best, peak. Oh, well, there's a couple of more adjectives there. All right, I can deal with that. But let me see. It's a race against time, because if I turn this off, ain't nobody gonna believe me that I didn't look at it. That's just a deal. This is worse than Blind to Billionaire when he couldn't remember stuff. Okay, it's just like Dan Wallace when he forgot all his Greek. Okay, I don't know how he got it back. When he was at his heyday, I'm getting closer. It's like the Hey Say Kid. That's just the deal. It's just like, Willie Mays. When Willie Mays was at his finest. Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting there, guys. It's slow, but the turtle will cross the finish line. Let's just say a couple of more adjectives. That's all I need to crank it out and give the glory to God. That's just what I need to do. I need to give the glory to God. I want to glorify God. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care if I'm up here a week thinking about this thing. You understand what I mean? So let's see if I can get it out. Man, what a game, huh? This should have been a game show. This just the way of doing this. he was at his finest. I don't know if I got that right. I just forgot. His finest. Okay. Aha. Come on, guys. Can you think about it? Can you think? Do you have it already? Do some of you have it or not? I don't know. I don't have it. Okay. I ain't got it. All right. Yeah, punk. You're Tony from Florida. So I said, I hope you're getting it, though. Do you have it? Do you have it? Come on, you runny nose, JW. That's just the deal. All right. I can't. Now I have to get it because if a JW gets it before me, they may boast. Okay. I don't want that. You know, Mark Morozero is saying, "Oh, he's a sportsman, so he'll get it he'll get it quick. He used to play football, so I can't let him get it. Can't let him be the coup de grace. You know, the coup de grace belongs to God. I gotta let this sexy and sassy JW who used to play football with all them tights and stuff like that get it before me. Nah. It's just a finish line. That's just it. And his finest hour, well, I'm getting closer there. Finest hour. He was at his best. He was at his. Let me see when he was at his. Forget about the study. This is going to be the end right here. I think because everybody gets the point that I made. You know, I can make a little appendix after all the ordeal. After I'm trying to get this, you know, I'm yawning over here, guys. I want to go to sleep. Okay, that's just it. I think everybody gets the coup de grace of the study. And the supposed coup de grace, you know, with an and with the if statement, you know, a hypothesis and a hypothesis like that, you know. The if and then statement, you know, in Greek, you know. Yeah, and I'm trying to get it. I better get it because I think there's 5% left on the phone. So I'm racing against the clock. It's 2%. I better leave that here. It's 2%. I ain't got that much time. This is like beat the clock. What do the sports guys say? It's like a Family Feud. What is the word I'm trying to get? I'm trying to get the word that describes somebody that it was at his finest in his career as a baseball player, as a basketball player. I'm trying to get that word. What is that word, guys? Come on, help me out. Or you can't, but anyway, you know. Okay. When he was at his... Oh, now it's really bad. Okay, that's how I thought. I wish you didn't have to dim like that, you know? I mean, you know, and shut off, you know? See, if I was recording this in the audio recorder on the phone, then it wouldn't stop recording. Oh, it's down to 1, guys. It's down to 1. It's down to 1. Now, if this beats me, I have to be honest with you. When I come to the other side of recording this, I'm gonna get it by listening to the Battle of the Resurrection, because he would have used it, and I gotta be honest, I didn't get it, and then he got it. Okay, I'm talking about Norman Geisler. Okay, so I just have to be honest with you. If this beats me, I'm just gonna put an appendix with the information and the word that Norman Geisler used, and I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna be so sad because it would have been. It's in my mind. It's in there. There's things there, but we just can't crank it out. There's nothing. There's not. You know, like next time I'll use a letter, like the 3 first letters of the thing, so I can crank it out. I don't have any handle on it, like Dr. Cook used to say. But come on. The time is running out. It's almost gonna be 0. Okay, this is really putting me on the spot like nothing ever did on YouTube. Nothing ever put me on the spot like this. Nothing. Okay, except for a translation that I had to do in Greek that Mark wanted. I mean, he wanted it right at the spot. Okay, that's just it. That's the only thing that really got me into just to translate it correctly and stuff like that's his delight, you know. Man, it's gonna be 0. I'm gonna lose. Okay. Oh man, and it's even dimmer now. Hi guys, so I finally got it. I mean, I'm sorry that I was embarrassed. I'm sorry for myself. Adjectival intensive. Actually, it was the word. If you didn't get it, are you ready? It begins with a P and an R. Prime. When he was at his prime, that's the sports thing word that I was trying to come up with. I couldn't think of it. Peak, pinnacle, best, like that, but I couldn't think of the word prime. Anyway, that was a little tiny game at the end, but I mean, no. But this is how I got it though. I was actually trying to find a Norman Geisler, interview. And it's the best resurrection interview that I ever heard in my life. I ever heard. Recorded. Ever. Out of everything, literally thousands and thousands and thousands of studies that I have recorded. Literally thousands. Okay? Literally. I never heard a study like that before. Okay, I'm gonna give Martin Lloyd-Jones a chance when I come to, Romans chapter 1 verse 4 and Romans chapter 10 and Romans chapter 6 even before that and chapter 8 after that, a couple of chapters after. I mean, so I will, give him credit when credit is due. But until that time, I have not heard. Even Dr. Barnhouse doesn't have anything like that. James Boyce. Robert A. Cook. Okay? Spurgeon probably has something good on the resurrection, but that's not recorded. I mean, that's not recorded at all. Radio came out in 1893, 1896 is where, someone got credit for it, I think Marconi, right? Like that? Prime. When Alex Rodriguez was at his prime, when Derek Jeter was at his prime, when Norman Garciaparra was at his prime, all shortstops, Okay, you understand what I'm saying? When Joe DiMaggio was at his prime, where Willie Mays was at his prime, that's how we're going to look like when we are raised. Okay, that's the Greek raw. Raised from the dead. You're supposed to say it like that with a strict, not just a cheap r. That's cheap for the Greeks. Okay, that's for the Greek geek, like me. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? When we are raised from the dead, okay, and you know what I mean. When the body that returns into the dust, or whatever the case may be, wherever the case may be. Okay, we will have literal, tangible, fleshly, substantial bodies. Okay, real deal McCoy bodies. It was the original body. We're gonna have our original bodies, but it's gonna be much more glorious than it was ever before, even at its prime. But we're still going to you're going to look like how we look like at our prime, without gray hair, without wrinkles. You understand what I'm saying? Without pain, without nothing like that. Nothing. It's just we're going to look at our best, at our best state and condition in our life. That is what we're going to have, and even much more at the resurrection, at the anastasis, okay? Which is the Greek word for resurrection. And it's a Hebrew word, as a matter of fact, that comes up in my studies for resurrection, like that, okay? If you don't want to wait, just Google it up, you know what I'm saying? And you'll get it right in front of your kisser. But this is the glorious thing. The Adam looked like a 30-year-old before the 29 years came into existence. He skipped 29 years. Now, I should say with that, probably. I don't want to make it, like the gospel truth. You understand what I'm saying? It's just a guess. But, I mean, there's evidence, if you piece it up together, that since he was 930, okay, 930, that's a sort of indication that God may have left us, see, may, subjunctive like that, may have left us because Christ started his ministry at the age of 30. Well, he's the second Adam, right? He's not Adam, but he's the second, Adam. Okay? The Hebrew is Adam, like that. You understand what I'm saying? And the Greek is Adam as well. And so that's just an indication. It's just too much coincidence. 30. I'm not trying to be like people who set up dates and stuff like that in the 2000 picks and stuff like that, like I said before in the body of the study. But I am saying that some numbers are very, very important in the Bible, and it's a 30 to 30 correspondence. He was 930, okay, years of age, but you may say to me, well, Angelo, how can he be 30 years old if he didn't have those 29 years before that? Because the body, okay, was made. The body was made as if it was to that point already. There was age. See, we're not born men. We're not born, whatever. I don't care what it is. 20 years old and 30. We're not born as 20 years old. We're not born as 20-year-olds. Okay, I'm forgetting my English. And we're not born as 30-year-olds. Did I say that right? I hope I did, man. This is terrible. The English is really being forgotten by me, yours truly. But you get the picture. We're not born standing up, okay? Some people are born, upside down. They got to get slapped. It's the same thing in Christianity, but that's just the deal. They're dangled on one foot by the doctor of grace. You understand what I'm saying? And slapped on the cheekbones of their buttocks, like King James used to say. Buttocks like that, as babies. You understand what I'm saying? So they can just breathe. I mean, that's just the deal. If they're not slapped, and then something bad is going to happen. But the thing is that, and let me just move this, just make sure that this is moved, so it won't, grow dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Opposite as the light getting brighter and brighter and brighter, like the JW say, and then it's gonna be cut off. Okay, no pun intended, because we studied that in this great No Annihilation series. You know what I'm saying? Of human beings. Now, I was thinking to myself the other day, well, my little friend, the dog, Kiki's friend, I didn't have a name for him. It wasn't my dog. He was hanging around for, some years here, finding me in the Philippines. And, if I go over there, he'll be over there. If I go over here, he'll go over here. If I go this way or that way, Hutas and the Canas, he'd be all over the place. He'll be here and there, But I don't see him anymore. And I was saying, but he was a dog. He was a dog, and he's annihilated now. Okay? So animals, mammals, and buds are annihilated as soon as they die. They are. They don't have to give an account to God. They're not made in His image. Okay, and His likeness. You understand what I'm saying? But we are made according to His image, and according to His likeness. You understand what I'm saying? The Greek with kata there is in the Greek Septuagint. According. You understand what I'm saying? Not images, by the way. And not likenesses. One image and one likeness, proving, the unity of the Trinity. You understand what I'm saying? Echad, one. You understand? That's just the deal. So that's just it. I just wanted to say that I found the prime directive, and I'm gonna be putting it like that. Prime directive, so I could kind of remember the thing, because I was saying, okay, there is something that sports people use to show when somebody is right in the middle of his peak. Like if you're a great hitter, well, I mean, you usually, if you're, Juan Soto, I mean, you were great, when you came out of the womb. But I'm just saying, normally you reach your peak, your best, at the age of 30, 31, 32, 33, like that. Or 30. Maybe sports is like 30, like that. That's your 30. And there goes that number again, 30. Let's put it at 30, okay? And when you're playing football, I mean, that's the golden age. When you're in your 30s, right then and there, you know, just 30, right then and there, you should be at your top form. Okay? And so you're boxing. You're not going to be at your top form, you know, at the age of what, 15, or at the age of 40. No, it's going to be at the age of 30, unless you're Mike Tyson, who wrecked up his life, and he got at his peak like at the age of 21 or 22, right? And he went downhill. So I mean, he reached 30, but he's losing to everybody, Holyfield and all these people. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, as a rule, there are exceptions. You are at your prime at the age of 30. That's the deal. You're at your prime. And so will be the resurrection of the body. Better yet said, the resurrection of the believer. He or she, that's the Greek R again. He or she will be looking like he or she did around the age of 30. In top condition, in top form. That's what I meant to say. Could have said it before, but I couldn't remember that word prime. Zenith came into mind, peak, like I said before, and a whole bunch of other ones, but it wasn't the deal. Oh, and this is how I got it. I'm sorry, I didn't finish what I was saying. So I turned on the television. Well, first of all, I looked for my passport hard drives, and it's not a passport like you use in an airplane. It's just called, passport, Anyway, and so I brought them here to the Philippines. And so I have a lot of sermons, and one of these, my book, external hard drive, I have everything there. But to a lesser degree, there's a passport that has like 1 or 2 terabytes that I have a lot of things in there. A lot of things in there. There's one that I don't. I just have the newer things. That doesn't really count as a lot of things. So I want to copy, when I get a computer, things that are recorded in the first passport that I ever bought. The second passport that I got, was given to me as a Christmas present by my nephew, Bryant Quinones, And he's on my first channel, by the way, fighting with me, play fighting and playing baseball and video games and stuff like that, and watching television or whatever, honeymooners or whatever, you understand what I'm saying? But let me touch this, I'm sorry, because then it's going to grow dim. And so when I put in one of the passports, when I connected one of the passports to the television, I was looking for the Norman Geisler video, The Battle for the Resurrection, something that when I eventually find and place on my computer and then upload it to YouTube, you guys are gonna know what I'm talking about. That it's just the best thing ever done on the resurrection and the battle for it, of the bodily resurrection of Jesus. That in the same body, the same birthday suit he had as a baby, that's the body that was raised from the dead. Meaning, I'm not talking about that body was in Sheol and it was raised, but I'm saying that once that spirit was raised and placed into the body was raised, from the clinical state of deafness. Or of deadness, like I should say like that, and it will switch from nekron to nekras in that scenario. The nekron is meant to showcase the abode of the dead ones, but nekras talks about, the Greek word nekras talks about the state of being clinically dead. And then, at the resurrection, the body was pronounced clinically alive again. But it was the same body. It's just like the seed and the plant analogy, the one-to-one correspondence. You understand what I'm saying? Found and recorded in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. That seed that is planted is the same seed, that's going to turn into a plant. It's not a different plant. There's not an absence of the one-to-one correspondence. No, there's a presence of the one-to-one correspondence. The very body that we have now as living people upon this earth, is the same body that we're going to have, okay, at our resurrection, and we're going to live in those bodies forevermore. The same bodies that we had here is going to be what we're gonna have forevermore. But okay, it's going to be an immortal body. That's the thing. Now you may say to me, well, Angelo doesn't. Oh yeah, I could mention a whole bunch of stuff, But Angelo, what are you going to say about spiritual body? Yeah, but there was a rock called spiritual. Pneumaticos, I think, like that, and the bread was called spiritual and the drink was called spiritual. So just because something is called spiritual, and that's found and recorded in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, just because something is called spiritual, around verses 3 and 4, just because something is called spiritual doesn't mean that it doesn't have substance. So what is called spiritual? So what? It doesn't mean anything to me. Those three things, like I said before, were called spiritual, but they still have substance. They have materiality. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to have materiality, okay, based on the material that can exist in the new heaven and the new earth. We're going to be on a new earth. So we're going to have some kind of spiritual, physical existence. Something that can be touched even though it is physical. I mean, Jesus said it himself that he's going to be. He's not going to drink. He's not going to drink of. He's not going to drink of the vine until he drink it anew with his disciples in the kingdom of God. So he can drink and eat. Okay. As a matter of fact, that body that Jesus had after the anastasis, the resurrection of his body, he can eat and drink. Now, I don't know how, because there were, not completely, not a doctor, and then, you need more than a doctor to figure out the spiritual, but that's just the deal. How can he eat if there was no brain activity to actually move his mouth and his hand even to pick it up and place it in his mouth? And there's no blood flow. He didn't have any blood. There's no transportation system of the digestive, tract, meaning that when you eat, all those minerals and proteins and everything like that are transported from one part of the body to the other. And there was nothing like that going on. There was no water. He didn't have any water in his body. He didn't have any. That's why he looked different. He didn't have any water. He didn't have any blood. And that was gone. Completely gone. But he did look like himself, that you can recognize him, but they needed proof, some of them anyway. I mean, Thomas did, that it was him, and he's not gonna, and the Father and the Holy Spirit, they're not gonna tamper with state's evidence. So why materialize another body if the original body can be the only proof, that's possible in a scenario of showing somebody that he was actually himself? If it wasn't his body, well, you can't say that he was raised. He was raised. Okay, he was resurrected. That's the word, resurrected, because it means to stand again. Well, how can you stand again if that body didn't even stand the first time when he was here? Okay, for the beginning portion of the 3.5 years, and there is a sense, that the Greek word, has a sort of root meaning of again anyway. So it doesn't need to have the Greek word for again there in these texts of scripture. And we found that in our series called Anastasis. But anyway, prime is the word that I tried to get and I couldn't do it. But did I look at the video? No, I couldn't find it. I have it there, but I had a very terrible headache and I didn't want to look at the television too much. So I said, well, I mean, I'm going to try, but I'm not hitting pay dirt. And then I looked at some family pictures, and then the word prime came up, because the thing is that we're all getting old. So when I looked at these pictures, I said, something right in these pictures. I think that's what it was. Anyway, forgive me if I'm not being so factual, But I think I looked at these pictures. I said, something, that was Angelo, meaning me at its prime or something like that. And I said, oh, prime, there you go. Prime. That's the word that was said by Norman Geisler to Hank. And I know there's a lot of problems with Hank, but this is the thing. This is the dilemma that I have as a Bible teacher and preacher and somebody who uploads videos. Do I concede in the spiritual warfare to the devil and the principalities, and then they're winning and then they win actually the war? If I do, if I throw away the interview completely because of the problems with Hank Hanegraaff, I'm talking about. He's the one who gave the interview to Norman Geisler, and I have a choice. I either throw the whole video away because I think, and I don't, but I think that it was contaminated by Hank. He wasn't in the Eastern Orthodox Church at the time, okay? He wasn't. He was a champion for truth at the time. Now, what he's become is a disgrace. I understand that. But Norman Geisler has nothing to do with that at all. He's being interviewed by a man who's the president of the Christian Research Institute that was put in place by Walter Martin himself. The great Walter Martin I'm talking about. The one of the true champions for the truth. And he made him president in 1988, just a year before he died, meaning Walter Martin, in 1989. And he did a lot of great things, meaning Hank, in his heyday. He's not like that anymore. He's a disgrace. And it hurts me to say that because he was a great champion. But this is the thing. Do I throw the whole interview? Oh, there's nothing like it in Christianity. That's the problem. If I throw it out, there's nothing like it on YouTube at all. I guarantee you. Nothing. No, unless you're talking about, and it's not even that. Unless you're talking about, and I forgot the name of, I forgot the name. That's another thing that I forgot. But I'm not going to wrestle with that. This man that was a reporter, and then he became a Christian, and then he made these classic books, on the resurrection of Jesus. Is his name Lee Strobel or something like that? Or whatever, you know it better than me. Okay? The fact about the resurrection. The fact about Christianity. But the fact about resurrection. That's amazing there. That's amazing. But he doesn't hit the topic greatly, okay, like Norman Geisler does on talking about, in the little time that he has, just an hour, and not even that, and about the bodily resurrection of Jesus. That in the same body that he had as a birthday suit, that's the same body that was raised from the dead. That one. Ha. Okay. You could just translate it like that. That one. You understand what I'm saying? The weak demonstrative of the article. Ha. You understand what I'm saying? And not the case. That one was raised from the dead. So the Na'an and Tutan and Autan was in Greek are very important when it comes to John chapter 2. Na'an means temple. Tutan means this. And let me just touch this again. Okay. Oops. Wait for a second. She's gonna speak. Okay. Meaning the automatic reader that reads the page that it's looking at. And Autan, okay, the third personal pronoun that refers to the antecedent temple. Those are major. So I have a dilemma. Am I gonna throw the whole shebang away just because of Hank? What about Norman Geisler? What about the edification of God's people, the church? They're not going to find anything like that. He's not the star of the show, Hank. He was great at the time of the interview, but he's not the star of the show. The star of the show is Norman Geisler. He's the star of the show, and I know there's a problem with him. That actually, a debater brought up about the will of God, the sovereign will of God in choosing or election or whatever. I know there's another Pandora's box I don't want to open. I don't agree with Norman, but it doesn't mean that Norman Geisler was an evil person. because he believed that man has free will to choose. I mean, I'm not in agreement with that, but it doesn't mean you throw everything away on his philosophy study, which I didn't bring to the Philippines. I didn't even make it into CD. Man, this is just a shame. But anyway, I hope that I put it, as a recording in this passport that I have. I hope I did that. Though, man. And if I did, boy, that'll be great. If I can find it, that'll be amazing. That's like, if you give me like a choice to have a whole bunch of gold, millions upon millions of dollars, and just to find that, the philosophical study that Norman Geisler did, I'm not going to take the money. I'll take whatever Bible materials or whatever the case of studies that I can find that are great, or like all of the audios that I left behind of ABR. Associates for Biblical Research, except for a couple. The Churches of Revelation, I got that, but everything else I left behind. Oh, but if you give me a choice between $1 billion, and $1 billion could build a church here, and it could do this and could do that. I understand that, and like something like that. I'm always gonna take the Bible before money. Okay, that's just I don't care. Some people say, "Oh, good." No, not me. Those things are priceless. Absolutely. The Bible studies that I left behind, and I took a lot here. Okay. I mean, I have a lot here. But those Bible studies that I left behind and that I don't have over here are priceless because you can't get them again. It's also some of the Bibles that I left over there, okay, you understand what I mean? Some of the Bibles that I left and some of the Bible studies and the videos, basically I have them all, but then I don't have everything. I mean, okay, fine, the DVDs I brought, but I left one behind. Okay, the King James, the making of the King James, but they have the... I can download it one day on my phone when I pay, YouTube to do things like that, and I can get it again. You just won't get the commentaries, okay? But anyway, one of the commentaries says that the King James, the wording of the King James is better than the original Greek. Come on, man. So I mean, with that, I'm glad that I didn't bring it. But then there's other commentaries that was really good and stuff like that, So I'm missing out on that. But I mean, the movie, you could get the movie. The making of the King James, with Queen Elizabeth and everything like that, dying, and then because of that, King James, what? Either the first or the sixth, I forgot. Was made king. Was looked for so he could become king. The sixth of England being the first of Scots. I mean, it's something like that, But anyway, Prime was the thing. When you, and this is a personal thing, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. I know that I'm talking a lot. I understand. I agree. But when you were at your best, think of the year that you were at your best. You were at your finest, though, man. You look like a knockout as a woman, and so handsome. You understand what I'm saying? As the man, yeah. You understand what I mean? Just think of that. That you're going to be resurrected like that. And it matches. I'm glad that I put this. I'm glad that I talked a lot because I didn't speak on this point. And it matches, okay, even though you lived up to that point anyway. But it did skip. Hey, check this out. This is what I'm trying to say. And this is the last thing I'm going to say, I promise. Remember that at the creation, account, and I'm guessing as he was created at at his best, okay, the first Adam, okay, husband of Hawa. Who's Hawa? Well, that's Eve in Hebrew. There's no such thing as Eve. The word there, okay, is Hawa. There's something to that effect. There's not Eve in Hebrew. Eve is not Hebrew. That's not the original. It's Hawa. So that's just the deal. So, okay, I believe that Eve existed. I'm just saying that the word is not Eve in Hebrew. It's Hawa. Something like that. Okay. Remember that when he was created, he probably with a small p, okay? Probably. I'm not saying it's the gospel truth. Probably was 30 years old. God skipped, okay, or made him to skip 29 years. The first 29 years that he would have lived, okay, he skipped that. For some reason, so he could just get up and do the stuff that, like I said in my study. Imagine if he would have created him a baby. Who's going to take care of Adam? Who? I know God could do that, but that wasn't his plan. So I mean, he was the only man that after he was created was a man like punctiliar right off the bat. You understand what I'm saying? All of us had a way to become that. A 30-year-old, okay, a man in my case, and whatever you are. You understand what I'm saying? Man or woman. You understand what I'm saying? We had to wait and grow up and stuff like that, and go to school and like that. The stature had to grow, and the mind had to grow. But in the case of Adam, the stature didn't. It didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? Wait for a second. She'll speak yet again. He didn't have to go through the growing process. But this is the thing. Just like he didn't have to go through the growing process, so we don't have to go through, and in our case, it will be again the growing process. We're going to be raised from the dead, okay, at the condition, at the state that we were in at our best, but it doesn't mean we have to go back and go to that point in the spiritual realm, whether heaven or the earth, the new earth. You know what I'm saying? Where righteousness dwells. So we too kind of, in the afterlife, is we're going to skip. Okay, we're going to be made to skip. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Those years before we reached our peak. It's like Hebrew. Or our prime. There you go, the prime. The prime. I almost got a peak, but it's no cigar. It's just because I had a P, it doesn't count. Okay, you understand? Our prime. You know what I mean? So I hope that blesses you, and then it gives us a lot of hope. This is the thing about the damned. That they're not going to be healed at the resurrection. If they're blind, they're going to be blind. If they're deaf, they're going to be deaf. If they're dumb, they're going to be dumb. Even though they're going to be made to confess Jesus as Lord, as Yahweh, to the glory of God the Father. I mean, even though you can't speak here, you have to say something at that time. And then after that, the vocal cords will be cut off. I mean, no pun intended. You know what I'm saying? Okay? Every knee shall bow. Well, then you have to have a need to actually bow. So I guess God will heal you to humiliate you, and then maybe He'll take them out again. That's very hard to figure out. That's what's the deal. You have to have a tongue, and you have to have a knee to bow. Yeah, at least one of them anyway. I mean, that's just sad, but that's just the thing. But in our case, like me, I'm legally blind. Legally, I could see everything clearly. It's like Smokey Robinson or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But in a miniature way. There's not going to be none of that in heaven, seeing something in a miniature way. That's not going to happen. Okay, you see what I'm saying? No. What God creates, He creates perfectly. And you know something? Norman Geisler got a very tough question at the end. Okay? It's about midgets. It looks like maybe he was a midget, the one who called in. Will midgets be resurrected as midgets at the resurrection? I mean, I'm going to leave that for Norman until he can answer. I'm not going to give away everything, guys. I'm not going to spoil everything. I'm not going to, you're going to have to view it. You know what I'm saying? And I better put it up before somebody else beats me to the punch. Like I said, that somebody beat me to the punch when it comes to Julius Armentium being interviewed by Walter Martin. Okay, way back in the 1980s. way back in the 1980s in the television show by Walter Martin. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to get, beat again. Because whatever God has for you to do, you better do it, because then he's going to have somebody else do it. Okay? You're not limited to one guy or one gal. You understand what I mean? It's not like that in the kingdom. If you want to enjoy the benefits and stuff like that of doing what God wants you to do, well, you have to do it, because then he's going to give the task to somebody else. That's all. That's how we behave with our children. You understand what I'm saying? At least one of them, because one of them is a special child, You understand what I'm saying? But Anna, my daughter, is not going to be a special child in heaven. She's not. You understand what I'm saying? She's not going to have her head interfering with her brain anymore. That's going to be gone. And and that new body that she's going to have is not going to have a problem like that. What God does is perfect. She's not going to be the same as she is now, acting like a child when she's 5 years old, and she can't walk, she can't talk. The only thing she could say is ma and dad for daddy. You understand what I'm saying? She can't say anything else. She can't eat. She can't chew. I was so happy the other day that she started chewing, Well, how does she eat, says somebody? Well, we give her plain food. It's a powder that we mix with water, and then she has her food. And I buy her vitamins, and because she can't chew food, so we can't give her food. So at least, she drinks a lot of milk, and I introduce just milk and juice, and I mean, that's how she eats and stuff like that. I mean, she's okay, but because of her head being smaller than usual, the front part is smaller than usual. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know how long she has to live. I don't. I'm not a doctor. I don't. Okay? But this is the thing that somebody said, okay? It's welcomed by me. I can't disprove it. Let's say that God takes her, God takes her soon. Well, in her spirit existence, okay? And in her spirit existence, she'll be taken care of by her grandmother, Nilda Rucci, my mother, who's in heaven right now. So I'm not worried about that. Okay? That's easy to figure out. It's the same thing with the baby being taken care of by Moses' mother and Miriam, and when Moshe was a child. It's the same thing. Somebody has to take care of her if she's resurrected. If she's not resurrected, but if she passes on, okay, will she be a baby? Well, like that. Well, if she is, she's gonna have to be taken care of in a sense, because her body's not resurrected yet. But when the raising of her body takes place to be caught up together with her spirit and soul subsistence, well, her peak, and I'm talking about a child, her peak will be 5 years old. But this is the thing: if a child is taken away from their believing parents or parent, this is the thing. This is the key. Okay? Believing in Jesus Christ as the Son of God. That's what I'm talking about. A true, blue, born again, people. Or just person, if she just has one parent, or he has one parent like that, a special child. And I mean, and so that's just a deal. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay? Whatever, one or two parents. I'll say parents for now. Then those parents in the new earth will have a chance to watch their child who departed from them early in life. They'll have a chance to see their child grow up in the new earth. So if that happens to us, if God takes her and I gave her to God, one thing my mother taught me is never to be angry at God. Never complain when something happens to you, especially when you're sick. Don't complain to God and say, why did you do this, and why did you don't complain to God, please. We're God's people. He knows what he's doing. You're not stupid. Okay? That's just the deal. So if that happens to me as a parent of a special child, okay, she's gonna go to heaven. The body's gonna be caught up with her, and then, but me as a believing parent, okay, because I don't know if my wife is a believer or not. There's a lot of evidence that she's not, and that's why I'm having the problems that I'm having with her, and I can't get into that now. But I'm a believing parent who happens to be the father of, I'm a believer who happens to be the parent of Anna, my special child. So not only would she have the chance of growing up that she never had here on earth, okay, so we can't complain, she never grew up, and why did you take her? No, because she's going to grow up anyway if our studies are factual. She's going to grow up anyway. And not only that, I'm going to get to see her grow up into her peak. And at that point, it's going to stop. Meaning the growing up process on earth. You understand what I'm saying? It's going to stop right then. And there, she's not going to continue to grow on a new earth to be an old woman. No, she's going to stop right at her point of perfection. In other words, at her prime. Okay, thank God for that word. Prime. I love that. I love that better than any other word. Prime. It's not mine. It's somebody else's. I just stole it. But I made perfume out of it. I didn't sell them as flowers. I just stealing, guys. I'm borrowing it. I made the flowers into perfume. Okay, give me a little bit of credit for bumping into into a whole bunch of family pictures and getting the word prime. And not even getting it from the study itself. But anyway, So I get a little bit of a percentage, I can't get everything because something joggled my mind to think of prime, so I can't take the 100%. But the thing is, this is the beautiful thing as a parent, as the parent of a special child, that she's covered by grace. She's covered by special grace. I know that. I don't have to worry about that. Jesus said, let the children come unto me. Let them. That's his desire. I mean, Jesus is not a monster. The monsters are the false gods' faces, man. Like in Japan or something like that. You understand what I'm saying? Those are the ugly things in life. These idols. Malak. That was anti-child. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Jesus, the fairest of 10,000. The bright and morning star. The Son of God. We're not talking about monsters, guys. We're talking about the Trinity. He only becomes, like a lion when we challenge him and stuff like that. Do you want him as a lion or like a moth? That's our problem. But she'll grow. It's going to be wonderful, me watching her, and this time with perfect eyes, watching my daughter grow and run and play and stuff like that in all righteousness unto, she's going to grow up to get to the point of where you cannot grow anymore. And right then and there, it's going to stop as a woman. Then, and it's probably going to be until she's 30. And right then and there, she will be, given the rewards, that she didn't earn. She will have in heaven and governing or leading worship or whatever the case may be. I don't know what God is going to have her for her. God is going to have something for us to do. And it's going to be wonderful just looking at it. It'll be just being with Jesus, number one, and the family of God. But just looking at that. If I could just look at that and in a little corner somewhere in heaven, I'll be happy for the rest of my eternal life. Just looking at my child, okay? And if it happens like that, it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna cry my head off here because I miss her and stuff like that. I don't know what the future's gonna bring. I cried when my father died in 1983, and I wasn't even a believer at that time. And I cried even much more so, hollering and crying because I was missing my mother, and that's when I was a child of God, and I understood. I'm not gonna say perfectly, but I understood way better than I did when I was an unsaved person at the age of 17. You understand what I'm saying? At the age of 47, I understood that we are here for a time, here today, gone tomorrow, and the thing is that we're living on borrowed time. This child is like a loan to me. That's what my mother used to say. Also, I mean, wait for a second. They're loaned to us. They're not our creations. We are their parents, but they're not ours. They're not our property. They belong to Jesus. That's why I said, Lord, I put you into her hands. I trust you. You gave her to me so wonderfully as a gift, and Anna or Sean. I don't know what's going to happen to Sean. Just because he's not a special child doesn't mean that Sean can't go early also. I pray for them, and that's the thing, that we have these children, and we know they're gonna go first, or we're gonna go, or like that. We're all gonna go. That's the thing. And so when I hear children play outside, I say, I'm sad that she can't play and stuff like that. But this is a dangerous world. Sometimes it's better that she's in the house. You understand what I'm saying? And I have confidence that God is gonna because I'm 59. I'm not gonna last for her whole entire life. If God gives her life and continues for her to grow and grow and grow and grow to such a degree that she's gonna overpass me, because I'm 60 years old. So I only have when she's 30, I'll be 90. I mean, I might not be around. She might be outlasting me, and my other child might be outlasting me. Sean. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the thing. That we're going to see them grow up. I agree with that. That's not original with me. I agree with that. I think that's possible. That's one of the joys. That's one of the benefits of being a Christian person. That you have that hope. But she's going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Not through the roof. In the new heavens and the new earth, but she's gonna grow up to the point where it's gonna stop at the age that what would have been her perfection here upon earth. See, so unlike does she have to become a baby again? No, I don't think that. I think that she's gonna grow where she left off here on earth, if she's taken by God in that state. Okay? And if she grows up to be an old woman, okay, well, she's going to probably look like that, going in, or maybe not. But we know that when she gets her new body, well, then she's going to go back. Okay, and not only her, everybody else that's blessed in that way of being a special child and covered by the grace of God, or children who are not special and are just regular, children that have no, outward weakness. Okay. But I'm not gonna say everybody gets old. That's just kind of stupid to say that. Not everybody gets old. Okay? A lot of people get old, and Samuel looked old when he died. That's why he looked old in Sheol. And that's good, because somebody could say, well, I mean, what's the hanky-panky of God going on? I mean, what is he doing? I mean, he died as an old man, and now he's coming up as a young, he's like Elvis Presley or something like that. Your King Creole and all that. What's the deal? There's some hanky-panky going on here. They're gonna witch whine and complain and say, well, why didn't God allow him to look, like he did when he died? Well, this is the thing. You can't accuse God of doing that because he didn't do it with Samuel, so he didn't do it with nobody else. He didn't do it. He didn't do that with everybody else. You know, meaning he didn't do it with everybody else. Meaning everybody else, wasn't forced to come in that way. Different than when they did when they died upon earth. Everybody else was looking the same way, also just like Samuel. You understand what I'm saying? Huh? That's just a deal. But we're gonna look like we did in our, what was the word? I'm gonna remember it for the rest of my life, I think. Okay, I know it was embarrassed like that. Okay, on YouTube before. Prime. I guarantee I should tie it up around my neck or something like that. You understand what I'm saying? Like the Hebrews, they they put scriptures on the on their foreheads and stuff like that, on their fingernail. I don't know. They put it all over the place. Couldn't obey God by doing that. You understand what I'm saying? It's just like mounts. Put these cards in your on your what you learn. I mean, put them up on your refrigerator and stuff like that. I mean, drink it, in day and night. It's just a deal. So anyway, guys, I have to go. Prime. The Prime Directive. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm going to remember it, by the Prime Directive. You understand what I'm saying? The law of non-interference. You understand what I'm saying? You know where that comes from, right? It comes from Star Trek, Prime Directive that people broke. Okay, you understand? All through the show. But our Prime Directive is interference. We had to do the opposite that the people on Star Trek was taught to do. They were taught to not interfere. But that's not what we're meant to, do. We're meant to interfere in men's lives to the point that we turn them upside down. Shake them up a little bit. You understand what I'm saying? Razzle them a little bit, dazzle them with the gospel. The gospel truth. This is Angelo Quinones giving glory to God the Father, to the Lord Jesus Christ, and in the Holy Spirit. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. And that means that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were still alive. And not only them, all the Old Testament saints was alive at the time that Jesus said those words. He used the present form of Amy. Amy is a me verb. Okay, the moon, or sometimes pronounced meal, not now pronounced me. And the Yoda proving that point, like diddle me. You understand what I'm saying? That's just a deal. Diddle me is found and recorded in verse 1 of chapter 1 of Revelation. You understand what I'm saying? Given, not shown. Jesus was given the gospel, not shown. Dexai is the infinitive right there that means to show. That was used and recorded for, that Jesus was gonna give the revelation, to his servants. You understand what I'm saying? Huh? It's a big difference. Can't say, well, Jesus is not God because he was shown. That guy, he wasn't shown. Not at least there. He was given. Huh? Edoken, I think, is the Greek. The Kappa and the Epsilon, strangely enough, it's not strange for the system of me verse, but strangely enough, outside of the me verb system, this is not a normal thing that we see outside of that system. The Kappa and the Epsilon is used in a third person form. Okay, as a third person, aorist morpheme. But you see the augment there anyway. Edoken, you see the epsilon there anyway, so there's no problem. Do is the stem, by the way. You understand what I'm saying? Of the what? That it contains the word to give. He used the present form of Amy. Amy. That's the present form. That's the lexical form. He used the present form of Amy. That's all. He used that very form. Now, he didn't use ain in the imperfect tense, like John used in John 1:1 and John 1:2. 3 times in the first verse and 1 time in the second. You understand what I'm saying? actually proving that not only that Jesus was from the beginning, but that the Father was from the beginning too. That's what I think verse 2 is trying to highlight. And by the way, Jehovah's Witness said, they ain't nothing like John 1:1. From Missouri, the sexy and sassy Jehovah's Witness, Mark Jackson from Missouri, Mark from Missouri, from Missouri, by the way. There ain't no such thing as a John. You ain't gonna find it in the Bible, John. Like John 1:1. End quote. Did you ever read John 1:2? Oh, come on, man, it's the same thing. Say Joe Biden all over. Then come on, man. But he didn't use that. He used the present form, Amy. Because if you use the imperfect form, ain, in the imperfect tense, he would have been saying that, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are no longer living. So, God, since, they were annihilated, according to the Jehovah's Witnesses, since he was annihilated, well, he's not the God of the living, but he's the God of the dead, of the spiritually dead. Of the dead, that they don't exist anymore. But he didn't say that in the text. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say that. He said, I am the God of the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God is not the God of the dead. You see? You know how these Hebrew and Greek words are very important to the speakers and the writers sometimes. Okay? The Gospel of John is full of that importance being splashed out in front of our eyes. You understand what I'm saying? You understand? Apollyon, Abaddon, or whatever the case may be. You understand what I'm saying? They get into the Greek. It's not seeds, but seed, and that's in Galatians. And see the importance of the difference, and the difference between plural and singular. You understand what I'm saying? Brought up by the Apostle Paul. Okay? And that's the deal. Greek and Hebrew is very important in the eyes of God. And you are too. And please subscribe to my channel, and please give me a thumbs up, and please leave your comment on the screen. Don't forget to subscribe. It's very important, your subscriptions. Let's get it to 100. Let's get these subscriptions to 100. Okay, at the end, can you do that for me for the end of the year? 100. Let's get it to that point. It's at 81 right now. It was at 82, and then I went back to 81. It's like a yo-yo. Okay, let's get it up to 100 and keep it there. Okay, let's put a little bit more in the pool. So if somebody gets scared, say, "Oh my God," it's like the maid and the honeymooners that got scared of the mop and she ran out. You know what I'm saying? Okay, all right. Some people can be afraid of the teachings, or just on my family videos and stuff like that when I'm talking about my wife. Okay, they could be afraid of that. I don't want to be here. But that's okay. I was made to do what I'm doing. And I'm going to do it until God takes me home. No pun intended, because we were talking about that, to be absent with the body, to be present with the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? Please subscribe to my channel. Please give me a thumbs up. And please leave your comment on the screen. The word prime. With the you understand what I'm saying? Prime. When you are at your prime, that's what you're going to be. At the resurrection. At the anastasis. Glory be to Jesus. Glory be to Christ, who got it done at the cross when he said to Telestai, the debt has been paid in full, according to John chapter 19, verse 30. Thanks, guys.